Hey, Crystal Street Comics, long time no see. Going to keep it pretty short today, but today I'm going to review Injustice for you. There's already a ton of reviews out there, so I'm not going to say anything you probably haven't heard. But I figure my personal take on the game might sway you a little bit more if you haven't picked it up yet. So let's talk about Injustice. Injustice is a new fighting game from NetherRealm Studios, the guys that brought you Mortal Kombat. And it feels like Mortal Kombat, the last one, if you hadn't played it, which is not a bad thing. That was a very solid game. They did tweak it a little bit with like removing the block button and giving it more of a Street Fighter move away kind of a block. Overall, very solid fighter. I'd say pretty easy to pick up. I'd say it's new fighter friendly. But for those who are more experienced, there's definitely a lot of depth there. As I've said in previous reviews, when I talk about fighting games, I like to classify myself as kind of a mid-tier skill level player. I'm better than a button masher. I'm not as good as those guys you see in the tournament videos. And I'd say I do pretty well. So that being said, let's talk about the game itself. You got a bunch of different modes. You've got a story mode, which is very similar to Mortal Kombat's, in that you will play as different characters at different times, and it progresses through a singular linear story. It's not exceptionally long. It'll only take you a couple hours, and it's pretty decent as far as a comic book story goes. It's not going to blow your mind with an ending or anything like that, but there's some good stuff in there, and definitely worth the playthrough. Then you've got the battle modes, which is more the classic kind of climb the ladder and you get an ending. But there's also, you can unlock a lot of variations to that, like only fight the heroes, only fight the villains, fight them all on one health bar, fight teams of two. There's a lot of variation there. I would say the biggest length of the game, and maybe one of the more challenging and frustrating parts, is the Stars Labs. This is basically 10 missions for each character, and you have to do these very specific set of things to get all 3 stars. And I have spent 20-30 minutes just trying to get one mission done. And there's 10 missions for each of the characters, which is 36 if I'm not mistaken, so you're talking 360 missions. A lot to do there, and that unlocks 2 of the costumes, which is, I mean, the costume variations for me is half the fun of the game. So it makes you want to keep going. As far as the multiplayer goes, very solid online. As long as you have a good connection, I haven't really seen an issue with it. You got a fair amount of players who just spam, and you got a fair amount of players who like to try and win with skill, and it's frustrating to lose to those that spam and you think are less skilled than you, but that's the same about any fighting game, honestly. Great, let's talk that roster. I briefly mentioned 36 characters, huge roster, great selection of characters. Of course, you always wish there were more. There are going to be 4 more released via DLC in the near future. Lobo is the only confirmed of the 4 so far. I really hope they stick to characters that are very different. There's a strong rumor I'm hearing of Batgirl coming into play, and I really don't want to see them waste a spot on a character that would be too similar to Batman. I honestly think instead of just putting Batgirl in, I think they should just reskin Batman with a Batgirl skin. They have a Yellow Lantern skin for Green Lantern, and he actually has different sayings and a different ending, and his super looks a little different. So I really hope that they kind of go that route for opening up more characters, instead of having Supergirl just reskin Superman, instead of giving Robin a spot, just reskin Nightwing. It may not always fit, but I think they could get away with putting a lot more characters in the game without wasting a lot of time worrying about balance that putting so many characters in a game can present. Graphically gorgeous. Every model looks great. I know there were a lot of complaints as the game was getting developed about the costumes. I personally think they look pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, and what's really cool is each level, not all of them, but most of them have different tiers to them that you can knock through, and there's a really cool cutscene that leads to the next level. All of it exceptionally solid. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think they, with a few more things here and there, this could have been a really good game, but or a really perfect game. But it's damn near perfect. And as far as fighters go, I think it's one of the better ones out there. I have no intention of getting rid of it anytime soon, which can sometimes happen with fighters. Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I got burnt out on a little fast, just because I didn't think that the single player was supported very well in that game, and whereas I feel on this game there's a lot more support for the single player. So that's my review. I wanted to do a video one. I hadn't done one in a while. Want to say hey. Background's still mostly the same. So I will see you all later. Been a while. Deuces.